So I have PCOS, which stands for polycystic ovary syndrome, and in this video I'm going to be talking about things that I have done or I'm currently doing to help my symptoms of PCOS. I think honestly that I have had PCOS probably all my life since I hit puberty, but I actually only started to realise that I had it when it came time to try and conceive children and when I struggled to conceive and to stay pregnant. That's when I first started to notice my PCOS symptoms, although I didn't immediately think, oh, it's PCOS, because I associated PCOS with an absence of periods or with really long cycles, whereas mine were actually really short cycles. I got a period every 3 weeks. And then a few years ago I read just by chance that actually short cycles can also be an indicator of PCOS, and that's when everything started to click together with all of my other symptoms, and I decided to investigate further and eventually get an official PCOS diagnosis. The other symptoms that I had were the standard thinning hair, chronic cystic acne, unwanted facial hair, and a just increasing waistline that seemed to not shift no matter what I did. I am planning to do more videos on PCOS, most specifically on kind of how I conceive my children and where we face challenges with that. So if you're watching this video and it's a little bit later in the future, I might well have done those videos already, so have a look in the description box because I'll put all the links there. Okay, so these are the things that I am doing to help my symptoms of PCOS. The first is I am drinking spearmint tea. Research has shown that if you drink 2 cups of spearmint tea per day, that significantly reduces your testosterone levels. I get these ones from Amazon. They are tea bags, so you just pop them in hot water and drink it. It's not unpleasant to drink, but it's not particularly flavoursome. So at first it was kind of something that I needed to add into my routine. I needed to make it a habit, but now I find it quite easy to drink 2 or 3 cups of tea a day. This leads me on to the next thing I did to help my PCOS, which was cut out caffeine. I was never a really big tea or coffee drinker. I'd have 1 cup at most a day, so it was really quite easy for me to cut out caffeine, but I know for some people that can be quite difficult, and I'd suggest maybe doing it slowly and just cutting down by 1 cup at a time. But again, research has shown that caffeine can increase your testosterone and your insulin levels, and basically if you go caffeine free, your body gets a bit of a extra chance in helping to regulate its blood sugar. Exercising every day. This is one that you hear all the time, and it is really important. I found actually it's made a big difference. So most of the time, I'm not talking like really high intensity going for runs and stuff. I am talking about just making sure you get out and walk every day. I do the school run with my kids every day, and that alone means that I walk about 3.5 miles every day, and just doing that I noticed actually a difference with the regularity of my cycles. So it's kind of demonstrated to me just how important it is to exercise. And I also find that with my PCOS it kind of gives me this weird like brain fog where sometimes I just can't even get words out properly, and I just feel like I just have had 2 hours sleep and I'm not functioning, but actually it's just general day-to-day life with PCOS. I don't know if anyone else also gets this. Let me know in the comments if you do, because this is one that I don't hear people talk about that often. Anyway, back to the point. I find that when I'm exercising, I get much less of this brain fog. I find that my head is clearer, I can concentrate more. So exercise for me is just really been important to help manage my PCOS symptoms. The next one I think is probably quite obvious. It's one of the biggest things I think that you get told with PCOS, which is to lower your carb intake and your sugar intake, especially the types of carbs like white carbs, so white potatoes, white pasta, white bread. None of that is good for you. It all raises your blood sugar, it raises your insulin, which makes your PCOS worse. So switch to whole grains. Brown rice, brown bread or rye bread, things like that are great. Brown pasta, or if you aren't a big carby, just go carb free. I, for a long time, thought that I needed carbs. I kind of used them as a crutch because before I knew I had PCOS, I knew that I had blood sugar issues and I'd have massive highs and massive crashes, and I thought that I couldn't go carb free because I thought that the carbs were the thing that were kind of sustaining my energy. And then recently, when I actually did go completely carb free, it was like this huge revelation to realize that actually my body feels better without the carbs. If you want to lose weight with PCOS, going really super low carb or carb free, for me, has been one of the only ways that I ever lose weight. Another thing that I have tried to help manage my PCOS is how do you pronounce this? Inositol? Inositol tablets, let's just call it that because I'm not sure how you pronounce it. So this is a branded supplement called MyOver, but you can buy generic Inositol as well. Have a look on Amazon or at your local health food store, Holland & Barrett's or the equivalent wherever you are. I'm in the UK, so I can buy these on Amazon or generic Inositol too. Basically, if you haven't heard of it, it's a natural supplement. It is a derivative of a B vitamin, I believe. I'm going off the top of my head, so if this information is incorrect, just go to Google because that's better than me. Research has shown that inositol has had dramatic effects on people with PCOS. It can help bring back your cycles if you have not been having them. It can help regulate your blood sugar, bring those insulin levels down, which in turn helps testosterone levels come down, because elevated insulin generally means elevated testosterone, which is where a lot of my symptoms and issues come into it. So, I mean, dosage wise, it varies. You do kind of need to do your research on this. I will try and link to a few articles in the description box to let you know kind of how I arrived at the dosage that I took when I was taking this. But I did find that it really helped. The first week or so was quite rocky. I actually felt worse taking them because I think my blood sugar levels went a little bit wonky. But then after that, it evened out massively. I found that I didn't crave sugary snacks. I could go longer between eating. It kind of just really balanced out my blood sugar, which really helped, and it also regulated my period somewhat, which was good as well, because no one wants a 3-week period. Not only is it super annoying, but it also means that I'm not fertile. Not that I'm trying to conceive, but it's always on my mind that it's just not the way my body should be, and my body's telling me that this isn't quite right. There have actually been a few medical studies which show that this stuff, which is a natural supplement, you don't need a prescription for it, it's over the counter, can actually be just as effective, if not more effective, than Metformin, which is a drug that is often prescribed for people with PCOS. And I'm going to talk about Metformin in a minute because it is my next point. My advice, and this is really important if you're going to start trying inositol, is to start slowly. Do not go in at a very high dose. Start very slowly and gently build it up, because you don't want to go messing with things like this. It could be very dangerous. You could make yourself feel ill. It is a natural supplement, but that doesn't mean that you can go overboard with the amounts that you take. So just start at a very conservative small amount and see how that goes for a week or so. So my next thing that's helped with my PCOS is Metformin tablets. If you haven't heard of Metformin, it's actually a drug that is given to people with diabetes because it helps regulate insulin levels. It is not an official drug for PCOS, but many GPs do prescribe it for PCOS, because one thing that people with diabetes and people with PCOS have in common is the elevated insulin levels, which obviously lead to a whole host of complications for your body. At first, I wanted to go all natural. I wanted to see if I could improve my cycles, improve my weight, and my acne and all the PCOS symptoms without going to drugs. And over the summer I got really into running. I was eating really super low carb, super healthily, doing lots of walking. I was basically being, you know, leading the healthiest lifestyle that I've led in a long time, and I did it for 4 months, and with the support of my GP, who said that we should try this first before we look at anything else, I did that. 4 months of running 3 times a week for about 3 miles each time, eating low carb and low sugar, and I stepped on the scales and I had lost, I think, 1.5 kilos, which is nothing. And obviously I got a bit downhearted about that, because I mean, really, I overhauled my lifestyle completely. I hadn't been exercising before then much at all, and I had been eating low carb because I've done that for, you know, years, but not religiously. And this 4-month period I was eating the best I've eaten in a long time. So to only lose 1.5 kilos kind of showed to me that maybe it was time for me to have a little bit more help. So that is where the Metformin came in. I went back to my GP, I explained what I'd been doing over these 4 months and the results that I had or had not seen, and they agreed that Metformin would be the next thing to try. So I'm on a very low dose. I'm on a 500 milligram a day dose, and from what I've read, most people with PCOS take 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams per day. So we're very much in the early stages at the moment. It's trial and error with my dose, but I do feel like it probably needs to go up a bit, because Metformin hasn't been like a life-changing thing for me. I still haven't lost any weight, unfortunately. I was hoping it was going to be like this miraculous thing, and it was like, ah, that's been the missing link and all the weight would just fall off my waist. But no, it's still there. What I will say for it is that my skin has been so much better. Again, with the sort of sweet tooth and the kind of need to constantly snack, because I never quite feel like I'm balanced blood sugar wise. That has been so much better on the Metformin. I feel like my hair is healthier. So all the kind of symptoms that I've had with PCOS have been slightly better on it. And also, although I've not lost weight, I have also not gained weight. And actually, looking back at this point in time when I'd had my older 2 children, when they were about 18 months old, that was the point when actually I began to completely lose control with my weight, and I began to spiral, and it just escalated up and up. And I think I probably put on an extra stone at that point with both of my elder children. And what I've noticed this time, which I'm attributing to the Metformin, is that I've maintained my current weight and I haven't escalated like I did do in the past. So I do think that the Metformin is holding my weight at bay, which is something. The reason I think that my weight escalated with my older 2 children is because when I'm pregnant, I get like a reversal of all my symptoms, and I lose weight in pregnancy. I get great skin, great hair. It's brilliant. It's almost as if my PCOS completely reverses itself, and I kind of have like a normal functioning body. And I think by the time my babies have got to 18 months old, all those good hormones that I had have like completely depleted. My old hormones kick back into action, and that leads to a really sudden increase of weight. The last thing that has really helped me with my PCOS is finally finding a doctor who is sympathetic and who understands. It is so important to have someone who actually listens to you, and that you feel if you need to make a change will support that rather than dismiss it. I've spent many years knowing that I had these symptoms and having no idea what it was, and every GP I saw just kind of dismissed it, said it you know, didn't think it was anything we needed to look into, whereas all along I knew that something was not right with my body and it should be functioning better than it is. And especially during the phase when I was trying to conceive and it was very difficult to stay pregnant and I knew that there was an issue, I saw so many doctors at my GP surgery. I was quite desperately obviously wanting to have a pregnancy that would continue and last, and everyone just kind of dismissed it and said, well, just see how it is in a couple of months. Not one person suggested investigating why my cycles were so messed up or suggesting that it could be any number of things. They just checked my thyroid over and over again and it wasn't that. For many years I was just lost. I had no idea why this was happening, what it was, and how I could get help. Recently, I have been to my GP and seen someone new who has been so incredibly supportive. I honestly couldn't believe it. Having a medical professional who is willing to listen to me and take on board that I do know my own body and I do know that there's issues there, and support me in such a way has been just so nice for my stress levels. It feels like I'm not on my own anymore. So if you're in this position and you're not getting help, just keep trying until you find someone that will listen. That brings me to the end of my list of things that have helped for my PCOS. I'm guessing if you're watching this you have PCOS or you suspect that you do. I would love to hear from you, especially if you have any tips, advice, suggestions, things that you've tried to help you lose weight, and also to help with the unwanted hair growth, because those are the two things that I've found all the stuff I've done has helped a little bit with, but not like massively. So if you have any kind of ideas or suggestions about those two things, I would love to hear from you. Please leave me a comment, and thank you for watching. Bye.